So now we dip into the Ganges, which is everywhere. This is apparently Patal Ganga, but Ganga is Ganga wherever she goes. So Savitri enters into the black void. It's a very beautiful narrative, meaning thereby, once we have given ourselves to the divine, He does not leave us. There is a place where Mother says, when I say I am with you, what it means. She says, I am with you because I am you. We don't realize it, but she knows. And she says, my child, when you sink below, I do not stand on the shore. See, this is the difference. That gurus who stand there and then, she says, I sink with you. I go down with you. She fights our battles. So we have this description toward the black void where there is a very beautiful description of page 579 when Satyavan is being carried by death toward the black void. And there is the description of Savitri, how she responds to it. She doesn't, okay, this is death, this is life, vairagya, everybody dies, it's okay. She doesn't respond like that. That's not the divine response. See, one who is king, that's not how a king will respond. King will not respond like this, okay, some people entered my kingdom, took away, I have granted some souls, I will free my near and dear ones. But the rest, anyways, it belonged to them. Not like that. So here, on page 579, very powerful description. She knew not self, forgotten was Savitri, all was the violent ocean of a will, where lived captive to an immense caress, possessed in a supreme identity. Her aim, joy, origin, Satyavan alone. This is how she holds him. Her sovereign prisoned in her being's core. See, because all of us ultimately belong to that, and she knows it, we don't know. Her beat, he beat there like a rhythmic heart, herself, but different still. One loved, enveloped, clasped, a treasure saved from the collapse of space. Around him, nameless, infinite, she surged, her spirit fulfilled in his spirit, rich with all time. As if love's deathless moment had been found, a pearl within eternity's white shell. So this is how she holds the soul of Satyavan for a moment, and then yes, death, O mortal, go back. And then journey in the eternal night and the voice of the darkness. We have very beautiful passage and such a reminder to all of us. See, when effort is lost, outwardly you cannot do anything. Keep the flame of aspiration. If aspiration is gone, keep faith. If faith is gone, keep hope. Why? Because hope comes from the fact that the divine is there, even if I do not see. And that's what we have the description when Savitri enters the eternal night, page 585. Page 585. Pale but immortal, flickered in the gloom, as if a memory came to spirits dead. A memory that wished to live again, dissolved from mind in nature's natal sleep. What came? Pale but immortal, flickered in the gloom. This is hope. This comes little later. It is pale, just a little light. Very pale, because surrounded by darkness. Flickering, you don't know whether it will stay or go away. And yet it is immortal. It can bring back everything. That is the beauty of hope. And what is the basis of hope? The divine. There cannot be ever any human being who is the basis of hope. If we do that, again and again death will snatch. Till we learn to rely solely on the divine. It wandered like a lost ray of the moon, revealing to the night her soul of dread. So what the Divine Mother does, she awakens hope. This is so beautiful. Even in the dread darkness, something is there which is wandering in that state. Serpentine in the gleam, the darkness lolled in black hoods, jeweled with the mystic glow. Its dull, sleek folds shrank back and coiled and slid as though they felt all light a cruel pain and suffered from the pale approach of hope. What a marvelous line. The Divine Mother ignites. So how does it appear? We have those Nagamani. So we have a description, darkness, hooded darkness, and then the jewel of hope. And so it comes back, slides back. It says, who has come to light up hope where all is darkness? It is so important to have hope. And if hope is there, everything else will come back. The basis of hope is the divine. It's the divine who brings hope and everything else to life. So darkness feels it like a cruel pain. Good for the darkness. Night felt assailed, her heavy somber rain. So that's why when we go through these states of depression, these forces try to snatch away hope. Why? Because they want to push us on the brink. Why they want to push us on the brink towards self-harm and suicide? Because then they say, see, the divine was working on them, I have won the victory. Eventually, no, but definitely we have, a work that the divine did in all of us actually. All growth, evolution. It tries to destroy in a moment. That's how Aurobindo describes elsewhere in Savitri. A momentary evil's almightiness. It's momentary because the soul will bounce back. It is immortal. The divine will pull out. But how much we slide back. It is said that suicide is such an utkat karma that its effects can last from 3 to 7 lives. That's, even in the Isha Upanishad, 18 slokas, one sloka is dedicated to Asuryanam te loka pretya vigachanti atma. Those who slay their souls. Those who slay their self. So this is a reminder again and again that even if everything is dark, the divine is there and he is the origin of hope. So thus Savitri goes and then death begins to scorn. Hast thou got wings to free or feet that tread my stars? On page 590. Frail creature, with the courage that aspires, forgetting thy bounds of thought, thy mortal role. See, we will hear all these words of death through people. Sometimes they will echo in our own head, and we have to recognize this is the voice of darkness. How can, this idea of unfitness, how can I do yoga? Yoga is not done by personal effort. This is the first thing one learns about yoga. It is done by the divine. We have to only collaborate, open. Who said yoga is done by your own effort? So it gives unfitness, this idea, which comes to sadhaks. And there are several letters of Aurobindo on this. Idea of unfitness. And the mother said, who is fit and who is unfit? If you see from one point of view, nobody would be fit. It is a question of opening to the grace, that's all. But death says, do you have the courage? What is this? You should live and serve your mortal role. And then he says, who is this God imagined by thy night? Savitri replies, contemptuously creating worlds disdained. Who made for vanity the brilliant star? So Savitri says, no, I don't accept your gospel that we are meant only to remain within the human limits and that's all. Roti kapda makan is not the first and last, maybe the first word, but not the last, triumph of man. And powerful lines on page 591. Savitri says, who is her God? This is interesting. Because everybody says God. So you're stealing a term. So often I ask, God is okay. What is your conception of God? What do you mean by God? All is God, my God, your God. But what do you mean by God? So death is saying that God is there but somewhere else. It has nothing to do with this earth. He is not even describing him that there is compassion, love, nothing. But Savitri now tells to death, who is God? My God is will and triumphs in his paths. My God is love and sweetly suffers all. Those who do not know how to serve and suffer for the good of all, one can take it in writing that it is a dupe. It cannot be divine. How much ever one may proclaim, I am saint and I am sant and I am Mahapurush, never follow his path. Recently we are having all these suddenly one sant who enjoyed life in Dubai and comes and says, I am the leader. You don't. You have to go through that state. Ask all of them. Look at Aurobindo and the mother, how they have lived their life. Sweetly suffering, serving, and then they show the Savior's way. All the great ones, Rama, Krishna, Christ, Buddha. This is the path of the great ones. To him I have offered hope for sacrifice and gave my longings as a sacrament. Hope should be only based on the divine. Who shall prohibit or hedge in his course? The wonderful, the charioteer, the swift, he is driving my chariot. He is the swift one. I have given my reins to Krishna. Who will stay the path? A traveler of the million roads of life, and he travels on all the paths. All paths are his paths. His steps familiar with the lights of heavens, tread without pain the sword-paved courts of hell. He says that my God, he is familiar with the lights of heaven, but if you don't know, if I sink into the courts of hell, he will come with me. He knows how to tread even there. So this is how, well, that story of Krishna and Arjuna. It's very interesting. So Krishna and Arjuna in Karna's battle with Karna, Shri Krishna takes that chariot to a place. It is described as a boggy land. Now do we imagine why Krishna's chariot doesn't go inside? Karna's goes inside. This is a very interesting thing that happens. It's the same. It's not like there was one piece where there was mud and everything else was solid. And Shalya, who was driving Krishna's chariot, was such a fool that he landed up there. He takes him to the boggy land where Karna follows. And Krishna's chariot doesn't sink. This is the difference. That even through that bogmire, he carries us. He shall remake thy universe, O death. So this is how. And then we have the gospel of death. But before that, one of my favorite lines, 594. 594. Death is a logician, left-brained, analytical man. Savitri is the woman, heart, that triumphs over all. So, death says to Savitri that all this is okay, you are talking of God and all, but you know what? It wears no living face, it has no name, no gaze, no heart that throbs, it asks no second. Ekameva Dvityam. See, who is this asura falsehood? It imitates truth and just gives a little twist. Yes, there is only one reality. People get very happy. See, even scientists have discovered the Vedantic truth. All is one reality. No, this is imitation. This is not the divine that it's obviously the same truth is reflected everywhere. But that's not what is meant. To aid its being or to share its joys, it is delight immortally alone. That is how we hear the description in Vedanta. Shivoham, Shivoham, Satchidanandoham. It is none of the things, no relations, no features, no form. If thou desirest immortality, be then alone sufficient to thy soul. Live in thyself, forget the man thou lovest. My last grand death shall rescue thee from life. Then shalt thou rise into thy unmoved soul. Sounds so logical. If you want immortality, this business of love, attachment, all this, get out of it. Be alone. And seek immortality. One day you will die and you will be released. And then you will go wherever you are meant to go. But Savitri replied to the dread voice, O death, who reasonest, I reason not. Reason that scans and breaks but cannot build, or builds in vain because she doubts her work. I am, I love, I see, I act, I will. What powerful lines. That's what Savitri is. See, all those people who try to create unity through all these debates and discussions, interfaith dialogues, they failed. People try to arrive at a consensus. It's not consensus, it's a concession. Because you are seeing your interest. Right now, let me concede so much. You don't arrive at consensus. But when you operate from the heart, there is automatic unity. That's why I often say that, okay, you learn all the languages, fine, but even people who know the same language, they fight in the same house. But if you know the language of the heart, you can manage very beautifully. That's how Bulle Shah says, no, you have learned all the ilm and languages, but you have not learned the language of the heart. Dhai akshar prem ka, padhe so pandit hoye. So she says, I don't reason, I am, I love, I see, I act, I will. See, this was the ancient greatness of India. They were not bogged down by all this metaphysical speculation. God is not, He is impersonal. They said, this is the deep urge within my heart. And I act by this deep urge, not superficial. They were trained enough to understand. It's not a superficial heart running here and there. This is the deep enthusiasm, as it is called in Greek. And I act on that basis. And I offer it to the divine, who will support it in that process. So death answered her, one deep surrounding cry, know also, knowing thou shalt cease to love and cease to will, delivered from thy heart. How logical, no? This is what we keep hearing. Know, self-knowledge. And love and all is for the weak fellows, sentimental fools. Yes, love as a sentiment is, of course, a weakness. When love enters into a weak patra, it becomes sentiment with its flip side of anger. But when love enters into a wide and strong heart, then it regains its original divine purity. But Savitri replied for man to death, when I have loved forever, I shall know. Love in me knows the truth all changings mask. See, what is the power of love? It doesn't go by appearances. Reason? Oh, see this person whom I loved, I put all my life at stake for this fool. The mother says, if you continue to love with faith, then things will change, but most human beings give up halfway through. It says, I know that these are changing masks, but deep inside, that's how the mother put it, bitterness is on the surface. But in the heart, there is only His love. Bitterness is an illusion, it's on the surface, it's a momentary thing. But ultimately, the truth of love abides in every heart. But one has to, of course, go through that challenge of death. I won't use the word challenge of journey, which wants to slay life, love, everything. I know that every being is myself, in every heart is hidden the myriad one. So then they go into this other realm, the book of the double twilight, and very beautiful lines. The dream twilight of the ideal, page 600. What does the ideal inspire us? Normally, ordinarily, we think, oh, ultimately, everything is coming from night. Death is real. People speak about God. Stay away from the company of these cynics. They're the most dangerous people. Oh, look at life. Sri Aurobindo said, but I know what happens. Pessimism is the tail of the devil. It is the weapon of the asura. So, there are those who will feel, Lari, ultimately see night. Oh, we mar gaya. So, I sometimes ask, pehla banda tha kya? See, such a great sadhak, he also died. So, understand what physical immortality is and the difference between a conscious departure and just death as we understand it. Hare, he also died. See that conscious departure. Swami Vivekananda, the day he was leaving his body, he knew he is going to leave. So he came in a dream vision to one of the disciples and he says, I have spat my body. Sri Aurobindo, even couple of years before he has said, see, one of us has to leave, both cannot remain here for the work. That's very different from this kind of, as we understand death. So, anyways, so the mother reveals to us here, Sri Aurobindo, in Savitri, page 600. But Maya is a veil of the absolute. A truth occult has made this mighty world. The Eternal's wisdom and self-knowledge act in ignorant mind and in the body steps, even in physical reflexes. There is this intuition which is operating, which suddenly stops you. Are we just now, no? Stumbling and somebody stretches the hand and somebody balances. All this is the action of a knowledge, a truth which is even within the body, it operates. The inconscient is the superconscient sleep. An unintelligible intelligence invents creations, paradox profound. Spiritual thought is crammed in matter's forms. Everything, if we see closely, deeply, we will discover a consciousness intelligence which is operating in everything, even what looks unconscious. How is it operating? Where has it come from? We'll not go into the details when we come back to the canto. All here is a mystery of contraries, darkness, a magic of self-hidden light, suffering, some secret raptures, tragic mask, and death, an instrument of perpetual life. Whenever suffering comes, we should remember it's a tragic mask. Behind there is delight. A greater delight is awaiting us. Although death walks beside us on life's road, a dim bystander at the body's start, and a last judgment on man's futile works. Other is the riddle of its ambiguous face. Death is a stair, a door, a stumbling stride. The soul must take to cross from birth to birth, a grey defeat pregnant with victory. After going, see, this is so beautifully the Upanishadic streams from the Upanishad. How does the Upanishad put this? Avidyam, avidyam mrityum tirtva, vidyam amritam ashnute. By going through avidya, they ultimately cross beyond death. By recovering vidya, oneness, they discover immortality. So death, when we pass after a point, it's like a class. So each life is like standard 1, 2. Sometimes it can be double promotion. If the divine is with us, he will give grace marks, fast forward evolution. So this is how the journey goes. A whip to lash us towards a deathless state. Imagine suddenly one day it is announced nobody is going to die in ignorance. What is going to happen? All the restaurants will be over in 2 days. Man will do that. Therefore it whiplash to take us faster because there is death. So we rush through. Eternal night, shadow of eternal day, and now these wonderful lines. Night is not our beginning nor our end. She is the dark mother in whose womb we have hid, safe from too swift waking to world pain. We came to her from its supernal light. By light we live, and to the light we go. So in the womb, the baby is hidden. He doesn't know who mother is, but mother is doing everything. And of course, we know that story of the twins who are inside. And one says, there is no mother, there is nothing, this is all darkness. We should not go out, whatever it is there, it's comfortable. And the other says, who knows when we go out? After all, somebody is looking after here. Here also, we don't know who is looking after. So that's where he says that too swift an awakening. The baby has to grow up and be equipped. Then he is delivered into the light. So this is where our twofold journey is described in the dream twilight of the ideal, and then the gospel of death and vanity of the ideal. Death has to counter it, that's its job, and he blabbers. What does he blabber? Passingly we can see, 608. Only the mute alone can forever be. Oh, we have heard it too much, so much. Only the mute alone can forever be. In the alone, there is no room for love. He alone is. Where is love? What does it mean? There is no love in the Supreme, in whatever, that one. In vain to clothe love's perishable mud, thou hast woven on the immortal's borrowed loom the ideal's gorgeous and unfading robe. The ideal never yet was real made. So this is how he continues. Earth only is there and not some heavenly source. Page 609. If heavens there are, they are veiled in their own light. So he says, I can grant post-mortem salvation. You book a seat for heaven through some religion, get baptized, converted, change your name from Janardhan to John or Jani. And accordingly you will go to some heaven after death. That's all that is required. So, but not here. If a truth eternal somewhere reigns unknown, it burns in a tremendous void of God. For truth shines far from the falsehoods of the world. How can the heavens come down to unhappy earth? Or the eternal lodge in drifting time? So finally he says, all this is madness, Savitri. All of us hear this so often from people. What are they doing? This Pondicherry ashram and this ashram, this Aurobindo, these people are mad. We have Vedanta, we have this, everything is there. What is this? They are running there to have the supramental transformation, divine love upon earth. On earth, nothing on earth can flower. So death talks to us through so many ways. And then there are very interesting descriptions. But let us skip this fellow. Anyways, we'll hear all this from everyone. सुन के कहते हैं ना कान पक जाते हैं. Everybody, and you just ask if this world was created, why was it created? No, it is Maya, illusion. Where did it come from? Where did darkness? No answer. So Aurobindo gives that complete answer. So what does Savitri says? But Savitri replied to the dark power on page 612, a dangerous music now thou findest, O death, melting thy speech into harmonious pain, and flutest alluringly to tired hopes. Thy falsehoods mingled with sad strains of truth. So she says what her love is. Because he has said love is nothing but emotional hunger. Your glands are overactive, get your thyroid tested. That's what you're calling as love. So Savitri has to tell him that I know all that medicine knowledge. So she says, my love is not a hunger of the heart. That's what mother wrote. Love is not a hunger of the heart. My love is not a craving of the flesh. Love is not sexual intercourse. It came to me from God, to God returns. Love is a mighty vibration which comes from the Supreme and goes to the Supreme, connecting two lives. This is what love is. And only the very strong and wide can bear it. So in most people it diffuses. Between two people it goes and then it petters out and vanishes. So anyways, he continues and beautiful passages. I won't touch upon it. And then there is the debate of love and death, where death gives all kinds of logic, and Savitri beautifully. Death says, "Oh, you are talking too highly of man. You know what man is? Scientists have discovered. Have you read it? That they are genes, sperm, all nothing else, plasma. Why are you saying that there is all this God inside? And we know, scientists know what it is. You should read a book of science." So we have Savitri describing the everyday miracle on page 623. O death, thou lookest on an unfinished world, assailed by thee and of its road unsure, peopled by imperfect minds and ignorant lives, and sayest God is not and all is vain. How shall the child already be the man? You are saying, where are those beings? They are babies still. Some are little grown up babies, some are overgrown babies. They grow up a little, then they become overgrown, precocious baby that we are supramentalized. So, but they are all babies in different stages. But these babies are meant to grow into the new beings, the divinized beings. Because he is infant, shall he never grow? Because he is ignorant, shall he never learn? And then she says, you are quoting all these biological books. So I'll tell you, in a small, fragile seed, a great tree lurks. In a tiny gene, a thinking being is shut. A little element in a little sperm, it grows and is a conqueror and a sage. Then wilt thou spew out death, God's mystic truth? Deny the occult spiritual miracle. Still wilt thou say there is no spirit, no God. So then they are armed with many, many beautiful passages, but we'll read it when we come to the canto. And then finally Savitri says that I have conquered over you because I am no more afraid. I know you are a mask, I know you are a passage, nothing else. So, as far as I am concerned, you are one of the greatest lie that poses itself as truth. See, it's so interesting. In Indian thought, what do? When a person dies, we give shoulder. When they are walking, what do they say? They don't say, Mrityu Satya hai, Mrityu Satya. They say, Ram Naam Satya hai. Har kaho ji, har kaho, Shri Ram Naam Satya. That's how we carry. Doesn't matter. His body has gone. But still, the name of Ram, the Lord, is eternal truth. Not death. We don't say, Mrityu Satya hai. Because we see beyond the flesh, we see something else. And when we live with that consciousness, why will we ever be afraid of death? So, all that she reveals to death, and then death takes her on to that realm, the dream twilight of the earthly real, where he says that, well, I will show you. There are many who have come like you and have spoken of high things, but it never happened. Mother was asked, why did you create, for instance, Sun Temple in Egypt? So the charter is something similar to Aurobindo. She says, it was not to be that time. She says, yes, it was not to be that time. So why was it given? She said, to keep that aspiration alive in the mind of men. That's why we have so many stories. Stories of Gilgamesh. It's so amazing story. It's a Inca story. Aztecs, sorry, not Incas. So it's a story about immortality. So that possibility of immortality has always been kept alive in the mind of the race. And that is why, how much ever we may see people dying, Kim Ashcharyam, we still deep within carry the sense of a secret immortality. That's how the Life Divine's first paragraph is. We still carry. So, they go armed with speech, and finally, there is a beautiful line here. Page 653. Savitri tells to Death. Death says, okay, you want to be free, but why you are behaving, you are a wife, you love Satyavan, what is all this? I don't understand. Is this what you call as freedom? Because he doesn't know Jivan Mukta. So, freedom which is conditional cannot be freedom. It's a paradox. If you cannot be free while in the body, then you are not really free. If you have to wait for death and go into the beyond, there you will experience freedom. Then it's a conditional freedom. So Savitri explains that beautifully on page 653. Freedom is this with ever-seated soul, large in life's limits, strong in matter's knots, building great stuff of action from the worlds, to make fine wisdom from coarse, scattered strands, and love and beauty out of war and night, the wager wonderful, the game divine. This is the greatness of the great. They don't seek freedom by running away from, as the mother says, because people keep talking about nirvana, you run away from the possibility of error. So you want to, because there will be a possible error, therefore you run away into nirvana. You see that you could stumble, therefore you want to run away into nirvana. She says, if God wanted nirvana, there would be only nirvana. So this courage to be in the world and face the world and yet not be of the world, be inwardly free. Whatever is given to us to create with that, beautiful things, divine things, this is what is given to us. And that whatever is given to us could be a paper or a pen or a relationship or a work that we are doing to create out of that something divine and beautiful. This is the work of man. And then she says beautifully, see, that's how when Narad goes to King Janak's place, because he is sent by his guru. If you want the real highest Brahman Gyan, you have to go to Janak. Okay, what is missing? I already know. What is this new thing that I am going to learn? This Shubindra has immortalized it in one of his aphorisms. That when Narad saw Janak, he was bewildered. He saw Janak is sitting there and a nice television program is going on. I mean, dance and everything. Nice perfumes. And Janak says, oh, Narad, you have come. Okay, you also stay for a while, enjoy. Tomorrow morning we'll discuss. He says, my guru has sent me to this fellow. How can he tell me more than what my master has revealed to me? But since his master had sent, so he says, okay, I'll stay. Next day he knows, anyways, this fellow can't teach me. He seems to be enjoying in those pomps and shows of the king. But this is our great ideal. Rama is Rama, whether in rags or in riches. Rama is Rama, whether he faces the challenge of Ravan or he, drives an arrow through the heart of Vali from behind the 7 trees. Rama is Rama, whether he goes all the way to Lanka to snatch Janki, bring her back from the jaws of none else but Ravana, or when he abandons her into the forest. Rama is Rama. This is how, they lived life. Of course, I'm not going into the debate of Rama. There is already a talk on that on YouTube. But this is the greatness of the great. What liberty has the soul which feels not free, unless stripped bare and cannot kiss the bonds the lover winds around his playmate's limbs, choosing his tyranny crushed in his embrace. She says, you know what, death, you don't understand. He loves me. Divine loves all of us. If he has given the bonds, he has given. And he will break me free when he wants. Until then, I want to do the most that I can do with these bonds. That's what we see Aurobindo in the prison. He's not complaining, he's not grudging. Free me from prison, free me from the prison. No. He uses this as an opportunity to turn it into his ashram. The first ashram. This is what is that wherever you are kept by the divine dispensation of things, turn it into a means for growth. Whereas we want to change circumstances, situations. That's what the mother says. That if you change circumstances and don't change yourself, things will come back again. But if you change yourself, then you have not only the circumstances changed, but you have conquered over them, used it for the purpose for which they came. So this is how she goes on. And at the end, let me read this part. Death dies. Death asks, show me who are you, who are you? You seem to be, something, strength is in you like a conqueror's sword. You seem to be unassailable. But if the world mother is in you, I too want to see so that I can worship. See the change that has come. Yamaraj becoming Dharmaraj. Who are you? So wise. You can't be an ordinary mortal. So I want to see your form. And Savitri, beautiful description. And then finally the end of death. Page 667. When she surrounds death, the shadow from every side. Now these are the last stages of transformation when everything becomes purposeful and intense. In the beginning everything is scattered. One little part, yes, Amma, very nice. So, we come time to time. Oh, so nice to be at the Samadhi, Aurobindo Ashram. Then slowly you discover this part, that part, that part. Slowly they are beginning to be worked upon. And towards the latter part, everything becomes one single intense mass. Because her light begins to press and conquer over all darkness. This is what is described. A pressure of intolerable force weighed on his unbowed head and stubborn breast. Here, of course, his is death. So as I said, he is all these changes as the content because it's a description of death being oppressed by the divine. Light, like a burning tongue, licked up his thoughts. So transformation begins from above downwards. First, when mind is transformed, there is no way that a negative, pessimistic thought can ever enter. All the thoughts will spontaneously go toward the divine, will be imbued with the glow of the divine, will manifest the divine automatically. It licked up the thoughts. But ordinary life, pessimism, everything, even when God is present, everything is positive. You say, I don't know. People say he's there. What will he do? My situation is such. So, light like a burning tongue licked up his thoughts. Light was a luminous torture in his heart. Why? He is because snatching away all that is holding us back. Sir, please, please. No. This too gone. Sir, ये तो छोड़ दो. मुझे enjoy करने के लिए. Leave this one for me to enjoy. Wait. You will enjoy me everywhere. That famous, Tagore's poem, जाके तुम्ही बहिते चाहो अपार प्रेमेर भार. एके बारे सबे तुम्ही घोचाए दाव तार. ना थाके तार मान अपमान, ना थाके तार धन. एकला करो तुम्ही अकिंचन. Says कि those whom you love and want to bear the burden of divine love, you take away everything from them. Take away their house, their man, apman, dhan and put them in the middle of the road. Why? Then they become ready to bear the burden of your divine love. So torture in the heart. Heart doesn't like, the divine takes away all that holds the heart back from rushing into the divine. And we say, what is this happened in my life? Ye kya kiya re dunya wale? He knows his job. His job description is very difficult, but he's the only one who knows. He will snatch away everything that stands between us and the divine, if our resolve is sincere. And then he will give it back, but transformed. That's the beauty. He doesn't want us to suffer. He wants things to be on a true foundation. Light coursed a splendid agony through his nerves. So after the heart, it comes into the life energy parts. So nerves lot of pain. Lot of people start suffering from body pain, this pain. And we are great doctors. We give pregabalin, neurokine plus injections. Hari, this is the process going on. Still, I also give what to do. No choice. Otherwise, I'll be referred to some Dr. X psychiatrist who will treat me. So you have no choice. But it is the process of transformation. It touches your nerves and, they cry. Hold of life, tying us. All these nerves that bind us. His darkness muttered, perishing in her blaze. He called to night, but she fell shuddering back. So he doesn't give up so easily. So again and again the same problem will come, but slightly altered, slightly better, hopefully. Yes, it is like that. He called to hell, but sullenly it retired. It will try to inflict all that it can. Hell will vomit its swords. So you don't have to be misled by appearances or lose hope always that mother is there, mother is there. For winding through hell turns the heavenward path. So every time hell comes, okay, heaven is close by. So he turned to the inconscient for support, from which he was born, his vast, sustaining self. Few lines below, he called to his strength, but it refused his call. His body was eaten by light, his spirit devoured. At last he knew defeat inevitable and left crumbling the shape that he had worn, abandoning hope to make man's soul his prey, and forced to be mortal, the immortal spirit. Afar he fled, shunning her dreadful touch, and refuge took in the retreating night. The touch of the divine which gives us freedom is experienced as dread, dire by night and the forces of darkness. So tomorrow we'll have only one session where we will dip into book 11 and 12. Thank you.